Good day everyone, my name is Drunken Leprechaun. I am a warbird instructor from Take Flight, and today I'll be running through the basics of the P47 Thunderbolt here in regards to cold start, taxiing, takeoff, some basic navigation, and landing. I am no way an expert on this airframe. I will be skipping over some items or information during the video. For more detailed information, please consider joining our Discord and participating in one of our classes. I'll be trying my best to run through everything within the next 30 minutes or so. Again, we're just covering the basics in regards to just a cold start. We're going to take off here, fly around, and come back and land. I am using a Tracker R Pro system. If you see on the screen any random hand movements, I'm probably just grabbing a drink of water, so please just disregard any of that. So, without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, before you get into a P47, you're going to want to get a knee board. It doesn't matter what knee board that you do download or obtain. You can go on DCS user files and download a knee board from there. There's a few of them. I'm using a combination of two from there myself. After you download and install that and load up in game, you're going to bring up your knee board using the right shift K keybind to bring up the knee board, and then using the left or right brackets. Usually use the right bracket to go to the right to get to your knee board, the start of your knee board. So here's the knee board we're using. Without further ado, we're just going to run through the checklist here. So starting from the generator switch, our generator switch, to turn that on, that's going to be located to the bottom left of our footwell here, to our left footwell. And off to the left of that, on the left hand side of the wall here, you're going to see a bottom row of 3 switches. The switch to the furthest left, it has the words Gen On, and off right below it, that's the generator switch. Just a little right click that into the upward position for generator on. Next up on our checklist here is main battery switch in the onward position. That's actually located on our center panel here, off to the left of the center panel. To the far left of the center panel, there is another switch. It goes left and right with the words battery right above it. You have on to the left, off to the right. Just left click that into the onward position. Next up is the intercooler shutter to neutral. The intercooler shutter is located on our left hand side, right below the cockpit window. The controls for it is right here. You got a switch right here. There's 2 switches that we're going to be going over back to back. You have the intercooler and the oil shutter control. The intercooler is labeled INTRCLR. It's the switch right here. Left click it to close it, right click it to open. The indicator is right to the left of it. The bottom indicator right here, you see words closed, neutral, open, intercooler shutter control. Right above it is the oil cooler shutter control. So we want to set this to neutral to start. So we're just going to right click it and hold it open to move it all the way to neutral. It should be in closed by default on a cold start. Next up is the oil cooler shutter, as mentioned. That's also located on our left hand side of the cockpit here, right below the window. You have right here the switch for it. Close to the left, open to the right. We want to set it to neutral. Yes, neutral. Just left click and hold it until it gets all the way to neutral. Great, that is done. Next up is our propeller switch. We need to make sure it's on the on automatic setting. That is located also by the center. If you're looking at the center instrument panel here, all the way off to the far left of it, off to the left of the center panel, you have a black box right here. This black box, the top switch has your sort of like your manual control settings for the propeller. In our instance, we want to leave it in the upward position for auto constant speed. You're pretty much going to leave it in regards to basic operations of the P47. You can always just leave it in the auto constant speed position, and you'll be fine. Just leave it always in the auto constant speed for basic operation. Next up is the fuel booster pump rheostat. We want to ensure fuel boosters on. That's located again also to the bottom left on the left footwell here. Looking off to the left side of our left footwell, along the wall here, you have a large black knob. This large black knob with the words increase pressure, emergency. You also have to the left of it start at altitude, and then a fuel booster pump to the far right of it. You want to ensure this knob right here, you can left click and hold it and drag to move it is all the way to the bottom left, counterclockwise to the start and altitude position. Next up, engine cowl flaps open. The engine cowl flaps is this little extrusion that you can see on our nose here over our engine. These are the cowl flaps. You want to open those up. To open those up, or make sure they're fully open, located on our if we're looking at our center panel here, center instrument panel, off to the right of the center instrument panel, you have this big circled white nickel plated pulley, circle pulley thing right here. You just want to, it says here, pull to open, push to close. So we want to right click to pull it and ensure those are fully open. We don't have any pressure going for the system right now. You have a hydraulic hand crank off to the left here, by our left tip right here. This emergency hydraulic hand pump. If that was fully closed and you want to make sure it was open, just give that a couple pulls and then pull that to see if that moves a bit. But it is currently sort of open. We should be fine as long as it's somewhat open. We're not going to overheat our cylinder heads. And I'll go over the coolant management system. I can go over the coolant management system now, I guess, in regards to what cools what. So, in regards to the cowl flaps, control the cylinder head temperature. The cylinder head temperature is located on the center instrument panel. To the bottom right of the center instrument panel, you have an instrument here with the word CYL, temp head. This is reading the cylinder temperature head. You want to maintain this below 230 degrees Celsius. It can go above 230 for some time, for about like 6 minutes or so, 13 minutes or so. Just don't let it go above 230 for for an extended period amount of time. You're looking to maintain it between 150 and 230 is your ideal optimal temperature settings, and you don't want it to drop below 100 for an extended period of time as well. So just monitor. You're gonna have to monitor this a bit, with the other instruments as well. Just give it a, every 5 minutes, give it a look. Give your temperature readings a look. For this one, you want to ensure it's anywhere between 150 and 230. Next up, for coolant management, as mentioned, we talked about the intercooler and the oil cooler. Let's talk about the oil cooler first, what that controls. The oil cooler controls the oil temperature. The oil temperature is located on our center panel. Off to the right of the center panel, you have an instrument here. It's got a few things here. You're looking at the instrument with the words oil, fuel, pounds. Right, so you have the oil pound pressure to the left and the fuel pressure to the right. And right above it is the oil temperature gauge. Again, you have some nice, well, not again, with the Allied Warbirds, you have some nice color coding in regards to the normal operating range of the function gadget per se. So in this instance, oil, you want to maintain about 60 to 90 degrees Celsius for oil temperature. And then the next, third and last sort of coolant management system we need to pay attention to every 5 minutes or so is the carburetor temperature. The intercooler right here, intercooler shutter, controls the carb temperature. That instrument is located on our center instrument panel. Off to the top right of our center instrument panel, you have an instrument to the very top right. You have to have the words CARB, air. Again, nice color-coded mechanism of where the operating temperature should be. You should be looking at about 30, somewhere between 30 and 50. It can operate here in the orange just fine as well, but ideally normal operation starts at about 30 degrees Celsius. So just try to keep it, or just try to keep it around the 40 degree mark. You should be fine, just fine with that. And that covers the coolant engine management part of it, the P47. So every 5 minutes, just give that a quick eyeball, adjust the shutters as needed, and the cowl flaps. These shutters are more, these are essentially exhaust valves. They're not intakes, these are like exhaust valves. So right when you're closing it, you're closing the exhaust valve to keep the temperature, everything, the heat inside. And same thing with the intercooler. These are exhaust valves, not necessarily intake valves. All right. So going down with our checklist here, I just want to, as we were talking about that anyways, just cover coolant. All right. So we're going to start our engine procedures, our engine startup. So starting the engine, supercharger lever off. So with that checklist, what that is referring to is off to our left-hand side here. Off to the left-hand side along the cockpit wall here, we have our throttle quadrant. We have this supercharger throttle lever control. There's an interconnect button. This may be attached to your throttle like this. Just click the interconnect button to disengage the supercharger lever. We just want to ensure this is fully aft in regards to the checklist. So no supercharger, no turbocharger, no turbo engaged. Just keep it fully aft. Next up is the fuel selector valve. We want to set our fuel tank to the main tank. That is located on our left-hand side here, off by our left knee, left leg, left knee. Sorry, left knee, left hip. Right to the bottom left here, you have a red big metal corkscrew selector here. You just want to left-click it or right-click it all the way until the smaller part is pointing or on the main on, and that is selecting the main tank. In regards to the next part of our checklist, fuel tank valve left or right, doesn't really matter. You can just follow the checklist. You can leave it on belly on, it should just work just fine. Just left tank on. Again, sorry I didn't mention that. That's also by our left leg here, right here to the left. That's really mainly meant for the external tanks. Just doesn't really matter. Just leave it left on. Next up in our checklist is throttle. We want to leave it just slightly open to ensure the engine catches when we do start it. There's fuel going into the system to keep it going. So just slightly open, just like that. Don't push it fully forward or anything like that, right? We can tip the engine, the airframe fully. We can end up tipping the airframe forward, breaking the propellers, damaging the engine upon startup. So just keep it just enough to catch the engine. Next up is mixture idle cutoff. Our mixture is also located on a throttle quadrant here on the left hand side. It's this red lever knob. I'm going to move it a bit. It's moving right now on the screen. That is our mixture lever. You just want to have it in the fully off position, also by the red indicator for idle cutoff. Next up is the propeller switch. We want to have that on automatic, which it is. We just did at the top. We also want to put our propeller controller lever in the maximum RPM setting. That is also located on our left hand side here by the throttle quadrant. It's this lever moving right now on the screen. It's got the words P on it on the black knob. It has the words prop RPM right to the right of it on the throttle quadrant itself. We want to send this fully forward into the fully maximum position, maximum RPM. Next up is our ignition. We need to put our magnetos to both. To do that, that's located on our center panel. If looking at our center panel, off to the bottom left of the center panel, we have a red knob switch right here, right below the battery that we turned on. We want to right click this until it goes all the way to the fully clockwise to where it's both. There's a white dash indicator here for the selector. Just right click that to that white dash is on the word both for both magnetos. Next up is our primer. We need to fill the combustion chamber with some fuel to get the engine to catch. So we have a simple setting here for if it's hot out, it's only 2 to 4 pumps. Cold, we need a little bit more pumps. So it's pretty hot out, 20 degrees at least Celsius. It's fine. So I'm just going to give it 4 pumps. The primer itself is located on the center panel here. Well, not located on the center panel, disregard. For looking at the center panel, off to the right of the center panel, you have this sort of black knob with the words engine primer on it. You have the words here push in to turn on off. This is currently in the cage setting. This is in the safe setting. It's off right now. We would need to right click it to rotate it so it's sort of somewhat erect up and down, and then left click and hold to pull it fully out, and then release the left click, and then just do that 3 more times in regards to our environment. 2, 3, 4. So we just primed the engine, got some fuel in there. Next up, we need to make sure there's enough electrical current running through the system. We're going to energize our settings here. The energizer is located on our center panel, off to the bottom right. We have a nice switch here with the words engage and energizer and starter by it. So this is a sort of operates two sort of functions. The energizes it and the starter switch. To energize, I believe it's right click and hold. Nope, sorry. It's going to be a left click and hold. Always forget. Don't worry if you put in the engage really quick. It's fine. We're going to left click and hold it in the energizer for 15 seconds. Good 15 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Alright, and then let go, the left click. You heard some audible tone when you're doing that. So next up, it's going to be a simple two-step process. It's going to be a two-step process, our next step here. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go back to that switch. We're going to right click it and hold it into the engaged position. When we do that, you're going to see the propeller start to turn, the engine starting to turn. Once you start to hear the engine trying to catch, you're going to send the mixture, that red lever, into the auto rich position, and hopefully the engine will catch and continue to run. So I'm going to execute that procedure for you right now. This is probably a little bit more simpler, the simplest one out of all the warbirds in regards to the Allied warbirds, at least how to start the engine. It's just going to right click and hold that in engage and then send the mixture to auto rich. And I did move my mixture controller. I might have messed up the mixture here. The startup procedures. So let me just reset everything really quickly. Alright, so let's see if we can get it this time. I did move my mixture on that one, see if it moves. Yep, here we go. Alright, caught, heard an audible tone. Moved my mixture to auto rich. And it looks like we're good. So I'm going to adjust my throttle. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to apply the brakes. To apply the brakes, so we started to roll there. We're going to pull this park and brake handle. So to apply the brakes, we pull this park and brake handle out, we apply our wheel brakes, then let go of the wheel brakes, and then let go of the park and brake handle, and it should keep the park and brake system engaged. So I'm going to decrease my throttle so I don't roll. So I'm going to pull the park and brake handle, applying wheel brakes, letting go of the wheel brakes, and letting go of the park and brake. And you see how it's remaining erect right there. You can see a bit of the metal pipe, and that should engage the park and brake system. And I'm going to let my engine rev at around 1100 RPM, and I'm going to close the canopy just so you can hear me. You would leave this open. To close it, you just look to the left or right, and you can click on the red knob, and or there is a manual control right here to the left hand side. By the intercooler switch, there's a canopy open close mechanism switch that you can also use to open and close the canopy. But normally you would taxi and you can take off with the canopy open to give yourself more visibility out the window. So that sort of covers the cold start of the P47 Thunderbolt. Again, I do recommend you do keep the engine revving about 1000 RPM to ensure there's enough battery for a lot of the functions to occur. Alright, next up, let's talk about some navigation. Let's talk about navigation next. So within our cockpit here, within our warbird, we have a few navigation instruments at our disposal. First thing is off to our left here, on the center panel. If we're looking at our center panel, off to the left of it, we have an altimeter, You see this instrument with the words altitude on it. This is our altimeter. There's two ways you can set the altimeter. One, you can simply zero out the altimeter to the current runway you're at. So in this instance, I need to rotate it to the right. And that we can just do that to zero it out to the current airfield we're at. Or you can see here we have a barometric pressure, inches of mercury, that we can utilize. We can get the current weather information, the barometric pressure reading, from the briefings page by hitting the escape key, going to briefing. And all the weather stuff is usually at the very bottom of the briefings page. It's usually its own section or a nice chart of the airfield that you're currently at. We see here, I know you can't read it, I'm going to read it to you. We have a 29992 in inches of mercury. So I'm just going to take that number and rotate until the center dash right here lines up with 29992. And these are in 0.2s right here. Each dash is a 2. So I'm just gonna line that up, and that's 29992 right there, and that's what how you can sort of set the altimeter upon startup. Next up, the next two instruments I'm going to talk about is on our center. They're both on our center instrument panel. You have one to the top left here is our directional gyro compass. We can adjust this manually, and then the other instrument in question is dead center of the center instrument panel. You have here a magnetic compass, which is giving us our current magnetic heading. So usually what we want to do at the start of before we start taking off is adjust or ensure our directional gyro compass is synced up to our current magnetic heading. We always want to use magnetic headings. Well, everyone usually uses magnetic headings, so we just want to ensure we're both of our instruments are reading the current magnetic heading in regards to basic operation. So this is reading here a 340-ish per se, and if I just hit the F2 button right here, yeah, I'm reading 341, so it's pretty close to it. So I would just come up here to the top left here and just ensure this is synced up to my magnetic heading of about 341. To do that, right below this instrument, there's a black grayish knob here. Just left click and hold it and rotate it until you get to 34, or your current magnetic heading. Mine says 341, and that looks good for me. And while we're here on the center instrument panel, I'm just going to uncage our attitude, our horizon instrument. That's located on our center instrument panel. To the top right here, we have our horizon indicator, attitude indicator. I'm just going to uncage this so it's going to account for my current attitude to the horizon. And to do that, I just simply, to the bottom right of it, left click it to make sure that's in the onward position, and that's on the words cage check on. Alright, next up in regards to navigation, I'm going to hit the F10 map, bring up the hitting F10, bringing up the map here. We're going to talk about some basic concepts of navigating in the Warbird era per se. So there are two main concepts in regards to navigation. We have a concept called dead reckoning, which is just simply flying a straight line from point A to point B. So say I'm going to go from Kutaisi to Kubeleti. I'm just going to, in regards to dead reckoning, just fly a dead heading of 231 degrees, and that's dead reckoning until I reach Kubeleti. That's just dead reckoning. Then we have a second concept of navigating with the Warbirds. It's called pilotage, which is sort of a combination of a few things, a collection of a few things. It includes dead reckoning. It includes the usage of landmarks, fixed points, and landfalls. So it's using about four things together, i.e. pilotage. And let's talk about landmarks and fixed points first. Landmarks and fixed points can sort of be used interchangeably. They can be the same thing. So Kutaisi here could be considered a landmark, as in it's it's uniquely identifiable amongst the current terrain it's in. Right, there's no other runway sort of like it. Right, it's a unique runway amongst this runway here, this runway here, this runway here to the left, Sanaki. Right, you can if you had this map right as a reference, you can clearly identify Kutaisi's runway amongst the runways around it, amongst its terrain. A fixed point is any point, like in space, among in a terrain, right? It's just any point in space. So Katasi, right? You can say it's a fixed point, right? It's a fixed point in a given terrain in a given space. It's just a fixed point. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is landfalls. Landfalls are a feature in space or terrain. It's a geographical feature that has a natural path to it. That has an identifiable path. It sort of creates a natural path, a natural trail for you to follow. So an example of that would be this river. So to the south of this, right, we have a river. It has a natural flow, a natural path going from left to right, from east to west. It's a natural path. It's a terrain feature creating a natural path that one could follow. Another example, up to the north here, you could also use this mountain range as a landfall reference, right? You can see just from this map view, right, this clear indicator of it's a quite large path, right? But it is a path that you could follow. You can use this mountain range left to right as a path to get you from point A to point B. And then lastly, hence the name landfall, this landmass here, where water meets land, landfall is a natural path, creates a natural path. There's a natural barrier that you can follow from north to south, up and down the water line here to get to a certain point. So to put this all together, as an example of how to navigate, say I want to get to Katasi. Katasi is my destination in question, and I am coming over over the water. Say this is like Normandy, if this was Normandy, right? And I'm coming over the channel over water here from England. If at the start of my plotting, doing my pilotage here, if I have my map open, if I know, right, if I'm coming over the channel somewhere off to the north, right, just by basic geographical references of an island, I'm on an island up here to the north. I'm coming from the north of Katasi. I would simply say I'm going to plot a dead reckoning course of just heading east here on 087 degrees. I would just head east until I hit my landfall reference in question, which would just simply be this landmass here. And once I hit my landfall reference, I will follow its natural path south, just turn right and head south until I hit another fixed point or reference marker of my choosing to help me guide me further to Katasi. So going along this coastline here, I would simply say I would use this right here, this as a landfall reference, a landmark reference, as an indicator to turn left and follow the river all the way to Katasi, right? Because if I look along this terrain, there's no other feature like this in regards to a two-river mouth opening with a center landmass in between it and a town to the south of it, right? There's no other landmark reference point like it, right? So this is a landmark. There's nothing else like it along this landfall terrain that I can use as a landmark reference to say I'm going to turn left at this point and follow this river, right? I have a map. I know this feature exists and it runs south of Katasi. I would then just simply say I'll follow the river until I get to Katasi. And I would also use fixed point reference markers along my path here, the river point. I would say Sanaki. So right, there's two runways in question here along this river of the path that I'm going to do. There's two runways there's two runways that occur on the left hand side of this path. If I'm flying right from left to right here, there's two runways to my left. I know Katasi is the second runway in question. So when I'm flying along this river here, I would say once I hit my first fixed point reference to my left here, the first runway, I would know the second runway is going to be my target in question. And that's sort of how you navigate in the Warbird era. Just want to make sure you understand the basic concepts of that. As if you do have fog of war enabled, right, a lot of servers and some campaigns operate with no labels, no nothing, so you won't be able to see yourself. Others, there's going to be no map markers for you, so you just be sure that you're comfortable with navigating visually. Alright, so that covers that. So we're going to talk about taxiing next and take off, and then we'll land back here on Katasi. Alright, so let's talk about how to taxi in the P47 Just moving my checklist here, make sure I'm not missing anything. So going over this checklist here, at the very bottom, we have a taxi checklist. We want to ensure our flaps are upright. We don't want to create more drag than needed. The flap lever is located on our left-hand side. It's not like a fixed setting. It's sort of like you can see there, right? It just keeps going. You can stop it anytime. The flap lever again is on the left-hand side. It's this yellow lever with the words flap on it, and like almost like a wooden stick popping out. The actual indication of like how much flaps you're actually using, how much degree it is located on the flaps themselves. So if I pull this all the way down, if I look off to my left here, you see here on the flap you have your indicators of how much flaps you're using right there. That's how they're doing it in the P47. So in regards to taxiing, we're going to use no flaps, so I'm just going to leave that in the full upward position like that. And it's okay to leave this in the full upward position like that to ensure hydraulic pressure is keeping it in the upward position. That's also a good idea to do. I'm just going to leave it in neutral position for now. Next up is in regards to this checklist, our tail wheel unlocked. So within the P47, we can either lock our tail wheel or unlock our tail wheel. That is located on the bottom right footwell here. On the bottom right footwell, there's a yellow knob with a black lever, and you can see here tail wheel lock handle. Fully forward is in the lock position. That is locking the tail wheel with a pulley system to the rudder control input. When you have it in the unlock position, it lets the tail wheel turn or rotate freely, about like 180 degrees per se. It just lets it rotate freely. Within the P47, in regards to turning, taxiing on the ground, or how we turn, it's all by differential brake. Even with the tail wheel unlocked position, the P47 will not turn with simple rudder input. It is a very heavy airframe. You can see just by the shape, like the geometry, the shape of the P47 has a big fat front, and then it narrows off towards the end, and that's where the rudder is. So there's not much slippage, even though the rudder is right behind the engine, the propeller. There's a lot of weight in front of it, and the big body in front of it is sort of blocking a lot of the slipstream. So there's no real rudder control in regards to being on the ground within the slipstream to help you turn left and right. It's just a heavy airframe, and just due to the placement and the dimensions of the thick body, it doesn't let you turn with simple rudder input. So all of our rudder input is just going to be by differential braking, using the left brake and right brake to turn left and right. In regards to taxiing, you can taxi and take off with the booster connected to the throttle. By default, you can take off without booster and taxi without the booster, without the turbocharger setting. That's what I'm going to do for you, or show you how to perform. And let's just go over some instruments about the throttle and boost, and we'll go over the RPM instrument. On our center panel here, going from the left to right here, we'll just start off to the left here. We have our IIS, our indicators of airspeed here, of miles per hour. That's indicating our current speed. Going from left to right here, going over, picking up the most important things that we're currently discussing. We have a instrument here on the center instrument panel, just to the right of the center of it. You have an instrument here with the words manifold pressure. This is indicating how much fuel boost that we're applying, how much throttle, how much sort of like pressure we're sending fuel into our engine. That is what that is reading. That's reading our throttle input. Without any boost applied, without any turbocharger, supercharger setting, that's really going to max out at 45 degrees here. On this instrument panel, you have a blue color coding, which is essentially our cruising parameters for cruising. Green color coding here is our normal operating parameters, and then you have two red lines here. The first red line here is our max takeoff setting, and then the second red line here is the threshold of when we enter war emergency power. So if you go past this red line here, you are entering a war emergency power setting, and what that does, it injects a 50-50 mixture of water and methanol content into the engine to allow you to operate at a higher engine setting and keeping the engine relatively cool. Do not, again, that's for emergencies only, because that's going to induce a lot of wear and tear onto the engine with that water and alcohol content. It's just gonna, that's only for emergencies. Avoid doing that if you can. Off to the right of that instrument, we have our propeller reading, our RPMs indicator. Again, same thing. Blue is our cruising parameters. Green is our normal operating parameters, and red is our max allowed safety setting for RPM control. And then to the top right of that instrument, we have our supercharger, our turbocharger instrument RPM gauge, telling us how much sort of what our turbo is sort of acting on. I'm going to leave it off right now for the entire duration of this flight, but that will increase as I put the booster more closer to the throttle. If my throttle is fully forward and I apply boost like up to not even halfway, like 1/4, that will not move. It only really moves until your booster gets relatively closer to your throttle, and it takes a while for it to actually read it to start. So if this booster is off and then I put it to my throttle, it will take like a second for that to actually shoot up and move to read it with the throttle. So that's how that works. And you really only need this throttle, the turbocharger, as you increase in altitude. As mentioned, manifold, this is by pressure. This is going to fluctuate as you increase and decrease in altitude, as it's accounting for the current pressure, right? And as you increase in altitude, the air pressure changes. So as you increase in altitude, this will drop by itself naturally. So you're gonna have to monitor that as you increase in altitude with more throttle to maintain the manifold pressure setting that you're looking for, or decrease throttle as you decrease in altitude to maintain the manifold pressure setting that you're aiming for. Alright, so that covers sort of the basics of those instruments. In regards to taxiing, we're going to start to taxi to the runway here. We're simply going to start taxiing with, let me disengage the park brake system. We're going to keep the stick aft. I always recommend keeping the stick aft just for safety, to avoid tipping the airframe over if you accidentally throw the throttle forward by accident, right? I just recommend just keeping the stick aft for safety. We're going to keep the brakes down for a bit. We're going to rev the throttle until the RPMs read about 1500, and then release the brakes to give it a nice roll like such, and then bring the RPMs back down to about 900 RPMs for cruising. And then I'm using differential brake here to turn the airframe to the left. I just tapped it, and it's tapping it to right. Sorry, I wanted to bring up my inputs for you so you can see what's going on. If you look to the bottom left of my screen, I hit the right control enter key so you can see my inputs. Alright, sorry about that. Oh, it looks like my rudder is doing some weird stuff right now on me. Interesting. I might need a new rudder pedal. Alright, so we're just going to taxi and line up on the runway. And after we line up and get centered on the runway, I recommend letting the airframe roll. We're going to lock our tail wheel and sort of let the airframe roll forward a bit to ensure that tail wheel is nice and straight, because we don't want that tail wheel sideways on takeoff to make ourselves go left and right all over the place here. So I'm just going to line up here. And in regards to taxiing, there's quite a few ways you can taxi. You can taxi in an S-like pattern, like a snake going left to right, so you can see in front of you, right? You can see right here, right? I can't see in front of me. I just happen to know nothing's in front of me, right? I'm on a single-player mission in the mission editor here, so I'm just going to show you just lining up. I'm going to lock my tail wheel, let the airframe roll forward a bit, and bring the brakes back. So again, just talking about taxiing a bit, you can go left to right like a snake, so you can see in front of you. Make sure you're not hitting anything. And then also, right, you can also just use the reference, the grass as reference, right, left and right, remaining centered on the taxiway or runway, or you can use the white markers if there are white lines, right, just looking behind you, see if you're remaining straight on the taxiway or runway to help you assist in taxiing. Okay, so let's talk about now takeoff, how to take off with the P47. Let me keep my engines revving here, and I'm actually going to apply the parking brake as I talk about this. All right. Alright, I'm going to talk about some engine settings for takeoff. So, if we're looking at our checklist here, it's quite small, but in regards to our checklist, I have an operating conditions for the engine. There's a nice takeoff setting here. It says I want to be at 2700 RPMs, which is full RPMs. A manifold pressure of 52. In regards to this, this is the max. You don't necessarily need to get to 52 manifold pressure. This is just the max manifold. In regards to our setting, I'm not taking off on boost, and I mentioned before, I'm only actually going to be able to get up to 45 manifold pressure. In regards to our instance, I have no weight whatsoever. It's going to be just fine. Even if I had weight on me, in regards to this runway, it's plenty of runway. I would just simply apply a little bit more flaps if I was heavy, and I'll still be able to take off just fine with no boost, taking off at 45 manifold pressure. In regards to after we take off, in regards to this checklist right here, the max continuous setting is also a good setting for climb rate profile of 2550 RPM and 42 manifold pressure. So after I take off the ground here, I get a good enough speed of about 100 miles, 180 miles per hour or so. Once I'm around 180 miles per hour and I got some decent altitude, I would reduce my settings to a max continuous setting to a climbing profile, just to ensure I'm not like overstressing the airframe, just maintaining good control of the airframe that way. And I'm just checking my coolant instruments here. I'm gonna adjust my coolant here. The oil cooler. Sorry. Open that a bit. And the carburetor intercooler close. So in regards to our control settings here, I actually find out that I'm opening the oil cooler more and closing the intercooler more than anything. So if anything, in regards to your cooling settings, you're really, if you're starting off from a neutral position, you're going to be opening up at your oil cooler versus closing it, and then you're going to be closing your intercooler versus opening it a lot more than the other ways. That's just the nature of the fact in regards to our current settings here. And my cylinder head temperature is looking fine right now for the most part currently. So that covers the engine control settings for takeoff. In regards to the other parameters for takeoff, we want to set our trims, ensure our trim is neutral. Our trim settings are located on our left-hand side. All of our trim settings are located on our left-hand side. There's this black box on the left of the cockpit, right below the flaps. You have our nose trim, elevation trim, then you have your rudder trim here on the left-hand side, then the aileron trim on the right-hand side. The rudder trim is controlled by this left black knob right here, and then the aileron trim, the right black knob right here moving, and then the nose trim is located right here. The words NH stands for nose heavy, and TH stands for tail heavy. So if I apply more tail heavy, the airframe is going to want to pitch up. If I apply more nose heavy, the airframe is going to want to pitch down. So in regards to our takeoff settings here, by default it's saying neutral and takeoff setting positions. So that's in reference to right here, the TO for takeoff. Just ensure that red is sort of right by the TO for takeoff, and then everything else is by neutral. In regards to our trim settings, with more weight, if say I had a bunch of weapons on here, with more weight, in regards to our nose trim, you would want to apply more nose trim down with more weight. We do that because with warbirds, our engines, right, don't carry a lot of thrust with it. So if we try to take off earlier than we actually can in regards to having enough speed to back up our momentum for that climb rate, we would simply just end up stalling and crashing. With more nose trimmed down, it keeps the bird with the pointed in a more of a 2-point attitude, keeps it on the ground longer to allow it to generate more speed, to give it that more momentum to initiate that climb rate successfully with more weight. So with more weight, we want to keep the bird on the ground longer to generate more speed, to be in more of a 2-point horizontal attitude, a more aerodynamic configuration to have more speed generated to ensure we have enough momentum to initiate a climb upward. Also, with more weight, we want to apply some more flaps. With the warbirds, we want the warbirds to take off by themselves. Essentially, we want the warbirds to essentially just take off by themselves with pure airlift generation. Essentially, with aft pressure on the stick, like that's all you need with aft pressure. Do not do this. Do not do this with the warbirds. Do not pull back like this or have it like back like this with the warbirds per se. You will end up stalling the aircraft as mentioned, right? You're going to pitch it up where it doesn't have enough thrust, enough momentum to stay in that climb rate. It's going to simply just stall and crash. So just simply gauge what the airframe's doing. Give it a little aft pressure like this, like such, to get it off, to just assist it slightly to maintain altitude and maintain that slight climb rate to get off the ground. In regards to our takeoff parameters, in regards to speed with the P47, this is also going to be based on weight a little bit, but at 100 miles per hour, we're going to see a slight rotation with our tail wheel coming off the ground. Around or just after 110 miles per hour is when you're going to see the airframe start to try to take off, lift off the ground. So around 115, when you get to 120 miles per hour, go ahead. Well, at 110, just give it some slight aft pressure like that. At 115, 120, if it's still struggling to get off the ground by itself, continue to apply aft pressure like such and hold it, and continue to apply aft pressure and such and hold it to see what happens. Again, just monitor it, right? Do not let it shoot up, or do not let it shoot up by itself, right? If you see it shooting up by itself, that's not a good thing. Apply some, just a little bit. Just let the stick come, just like that, right? Just a little bit. Just let that nose come down a little bit. Do not let it. Let the airframe induce a stall on itself. All right. Just monitor what it's doing. All right. So enough talk. Let's sort of go through the takeoff procedure here now. I'm going to just disengage my park and brake. There we go. So I'm going to hold my brakes down for takeoff. I'm holding down my brakes for takeoff. I'm going to keep the stick aft at the start, and as I start to roll or gain speed, I'm going to let the stick come slightly center as I gain speed. But at start, right, just like before, as I mentioned for safety, we're going to keep the stick in the aft position to keep it from tipping forward. Just going through the checklist right here really quick. Tail wheel in the locked position. We want the tail wheel to be locked. We don't want it to be going left and right all over us, throwing us off the runway here and flipping us. Brakes we're applying, and then we're going to increase our throttle to about 30 inches of manifold pressure, and then release the brakes. Right, we're doing that to generate a good amount of momentum for us. So yeah, I think that covers it. So without further ado, I'm applying the brakes, keeping the stick aft. I'm going to apply throttle until I get about 30 manifold pressure. And then with the throttle control, there are two ways you can do it. You can simply throw the... I don't have my booster engaged, so with this instance, I can simply just throw my throttle fully forward after I release my brakes. Or if you have the booster, if you have the booster connected still, gradually increase your throttle until you get to the max of 50 or 52 manifold inches pressure. Just gradually increase it over time, because you're going to be playing with the rotors just a little bit with the P47, only a little bit of rudder control needed, but you will require some rudder control. Gradually increasing the throttle just allows you to account for the rudder control. So here we go. I'm just going to apply throttle until I get to 30. Releasing brakes, applying throttle. And my throttle's at max right now, letting the stick come center gradually. And my hand is by my gear up, ready to bring up my gears immediately after takeoff. getting close to 100. See my tail wheels coming up a little bit as the airframe's shaking up and down a bit. Tail wheels off the ground. 110. I'm not even applying aft on the stick yet. Applying some aft. I'm airborne. Gears up. Only very slightly aft. You can see on the air input control, right? There's like no aft whatsoever. That's all you need with no weight. And that's how we take off. That's a successful takeoff. In regards to the cowl flaps, I didn't mention the cowl flaps, but the cowl flaps you only want slightly open on takeoff. Just like that is enough for takeoff. Again, so I'm just gonna let myself gain some distance here, and we're gonna talk about the landing parameters, how to land in a second. But I'm just gonna let myself get some distance here, and we'll talk about the landing parameters. But actually, at this point, we'll talk about trim, how to account for trim. So we have a nice trim indicator. I'm gonna pause the video, pause the game. All right, we're gonna talk about trim really quickly. How to gauge when we need to do trim left and trim right. On our center instrument panel, off to the left of it, we have a slip indicator. You have this white needle and then this black ball. The black ball accounts for our rudder slippage. The white needle accounts for our aileron slippage. So this is within all Allied warbirds. So with how to read this is, if this black ball is off to the left, I need to apply left rudder. If this white needle is off to the right, I need to apply left aileron. So again, black counts for rudder. If the black ball is off to the left, I apply the same direction rudder trim. The white needle accounts for the aileron slippage. If the white needle is off to the right, I need to apply opposite direction of aileron trim. So ball, same direction, needle, opposite direction. And I recommend just accounting for the rudder trim first and then adjusting for the aileron trim afterwards, as I find that's usually, at least for my instance, works out better for me in regards to simplicity of how to account for the trim settings. So I'm going to unpause the video. Actually, we'll leave it paused for right now. We'll talk about some of the landing procedures at this point. So in regards to our checklist here, oh, no, so I can't move the checklist. So we'll actually keep moving. We'll fly off for a bit. We're going to do a straight-in approach example for our landing procedures. We won't be doing a pattern. We do have the pattern of how to execute it within the Discord, but I just show the straight-in approach in regards to basic operation of the P47. As in most cases, it's more universal, the straight-in approach method, especially if you're damaged and you can't maintain slow flight and turns. So a straight-in approach is usually just the best in regards to just a universal procedure. All right, so let's unpause the video, get some more distance, and I'm just bringing back my throttle, and I'm going to bring back my RPMs to normal operating procedure. So I'm going to get to about 1,000 feet in a good amount of distance, at least 1,000 feet, which I am at right now. So I'll actually climb to 2,000 feet. In regards to the straight-in approach method, regardless of when I talk about the parameter settings, if anything, I always recommend coming in either a bit faster or a bit higher. Especially on these modern maps, right? The runways are quite long. You have plenty of runway, so don't be afraid to overshoot the runway. So if anything, just coming a little bit faster or a little bit higher than needed. Overshoot the threshold. Don't be worried or too concerned about overshooting the threshold. You have plenty of runway to stop or use. Just going through my checklist here. So I'm just going to use this checklist as a reference point. I may talk some or change parameters in regards to this checklist as I read it through. I'm just going to turn around here. So at this point, I'm just going to start dirtying up my airframe, start configuring it for a landing. I recommend landing with the canopy open so you can hear your engine. I'm going to land with my canopy closed so you can, I know that you can hear me. Be sure you can hear me. So first things first on our checklist is tail wheel locked, right? We want to ensure that tail wheel is locked. It's not rotating left and right on us upon landing. Our fuel selector to main, or to, I would say, to the most full fuel tank, I would say, in regards to that. Our approach speed, I recommend, as you're lining up, at least from regards to straight in approach, maintaining 160 miles per hour. So, you know, just bring it down to a cruise setting here to slow myself down a bit. Let's go for the checklist. In regards to dropping landing gear, after you get below 200 miles per hour, I recommend 190 miles per hour. That is a safe parameter where you can drop your landing gear. So below 190 miles per hour, you can safely drop your landing gear. Just gonna try to slow down here. And do some drag here to slow down a bit. Alright, I'm gonna drop the landing gear now as I'm at 190 or below, and I want to do some drag here. Bring the manifold pressure down to 20. Alright, you want to ensure our mixture is set to auto rich. In regards to landing, gear is down at 190. At 180, you can start deploying flaps as needed. I'm going to lower my flaps all the way down to ensure I have the most amount of drag to keep me stopping. So flaps all the way down. And again, as we're lining up, we want to maintain around 160 miles per hour. 150 is fine. RPMs, make sure your RPMs are at 2550. Just for lining up, 2550 for lining up. When you're on final and once you know you're lined up, I recommend just setting those RPMs fully forward. And we're going to trim for level flight. I'm going to get that nose up. And cowl flaps fully closed, so to avoid creating a lot of drag and causing airframe to shake, we're going to have those cowl flaps closed so our airframe's not shaking. Just applying some more manifold pressure, some more throttle as I'm still lining up, and I don't want to dip below 130 miles per hour just yet. It's very hard to turn below 130 miles per hour, so again, while you're still lining up, I recommend maintaining 160, 150 miles per hour. I'm way below that right now, but in regards to just lining up, in regards to straight in approach, definitely give yourself some more speed until you're lined up, and then go ahead and you can start bringing it down to 130 miles per hour. And once you're sort of good, you can let it start dropping to 120 miles per hour. And we're looking for a touchdown speed between 90 and 100 miles per hour of touchdown. And we're looking for a 3-point landing configuration. When I say a 3-point landing configuration, we sort of want the airframe to stall by itself right over the airfield, so all 3 wheels touch the ground at the same time. That's quite hard to do, so I recommend aiming for a 2.5-point landing configuration with the tail wheel slightly above the ground to avoid smacking the tail wheel and breaking the tail wheel, and also avoid smacking your propeller into the tarmac if by aiming too far in a downward 2-point wheel configuration landing. So again, if anything, just coming a little bit faster and or higher than needed. As you can see here, I can't really see the runway, so I'm just pointing myself up a bit and dipping my nose back down to see where the runway is at. And as I pitch my nose up, I bleed speed a bit, so it doesn't quite help out. If you need more speed, so I'm going to send my RPM fully forward. It's at 2550 still. If you need more speed, you can dip your nose. That can help generate some speed. And or, you know, you can apply throttle as well. I'm going to stop, bring down the throttle a little bit as I'm closing up on the runway here. Again, going to look for 90 to 100 miles per hour for touchdown. I would recommend looking for like 105, 110 over the threshold. Again, I'm not going to be concerned about overshooting the runway here a bit. See the airframe shaking a bit. It's because it's trying to stall on me. And cutting the engine upon landing. Applying some right rudder. Alright, keep myself on the runway there. But yeah, so that sort of covers that. I recommend coming in a little bit higher than it did, so you can have more of a nose down attitude, so you can see the runway. I lost sight of the runway for quite some time during that approach, but if anything, right, I recommend coming in a little bit higher, and that would allow you to come more in a downward angle, so you can keep the runway in sight, and then gradually flare as you come closer to the threshold. So I recommend coming in a little bit higher than I did, just a little bit, and come in a little bit more of a 2-point attitude, so you can see the runway for that straight in approach. But as soon as you are good and that you know you're on the runway, just go ahead and cut the throttle like I did. You will see the airframe start to shake. If you were right above the runway, that's when you did it appropriately. So as soon as your airframe starts to shake, a second after that, you should be on the runway. I was a little bit longer in the air, longer than needed in regards to my approach this time. But in regards to when you saw my airframe shaking, just a second after that, you should be hitting the runway as that's coming towards the stall point per se for the airframe. So yeah, that sort of covers the basics of cold start, taxi and takeoff, landing, and some navigation points for the P47. I recommend reading, actually watching my other videos, as I've been doing these Allied warbirds back to back, and they're all quite similar in regards to concepts for takeoff, landing, and things like that. I may miss some concepts being mentioned here in this video versus other videos, and vice versa. So I recommend just if you have the time, just review the other videos, and they all are pretty much somewhat similar in regards to concepts of operations for the Allied warbirds. But I hope you got some tips out of this one, and thank you for watching.